Wolodymyr Schmondenko was born far from bright cities and easy futures. Ukraine shaped him through simplicity and necessity. His family lived modestly, without excess or illusion. Life was not cruel, but it was demanding. From an early age, effort was normal, rest was earned, and nothing arrived without work. There were no conversations about dreams, only about what had to be done today. Physical labor entered his life before ambition did. Carrying, lifting, repeating, not for progress but for survival. These routines built more than muscle. They formed endurance, patience, and a quiet acceptance of hardship. Pain was not dramatic, it was ordinary, and because it was ordinary, it never scared him. This environment removed fear long before strength arrived. Many people grow up wanting more. He grew up learning how to endure. While others searched for shortcuts, he learned repetition. Day after day, effort became habit, and habit became identity. There was no applause for persistence, no praise for consistency. Work existed because it was required. This absence of validation would later become his greatest advantage. When powerlifting entered his life, it felt natural. Heavy iron gave direction to raw effort. Training was slow, brutal, and unseen. Years passed without recognition. Competitions came with pressure but little reward. Titles were earned quietly. Strength was built honestly. Long before cameras appeared, his body and mind were already forged by discipline. The order mattered. Sport came before content. Reality before performance. He did not train to be noticed, he trained to be capable. Many chased the image of strength. He pursued its foundation. At this stage, there was no plan for fame, no concept of influence. Only the certainty that discipline, once built, never disappears. This was the hidden beginning. No algorithms, no audience, just a man learning to trust effort more than hope. The world did not know his name, and it did not need to. Everything that followed would stand on this invisible base. Because true strength is never sudden. It is accumulated in silence. Powerlifting became more than a sport. It became structure. While others trained for aesthetics or attention, Wolodymyr trained for capacity. Progress was slow and often invisible. Plates were added one by one. Failures were frequent. Injuries came and went, but quitting never entered the equation. He learned early that real strength grows in cycles measured not by weeks but by years. Competitions brought pressure, not fame. Medals were earned without crowds. Titles meant respect only among those who understood the weight of effort. There were no sponsors waiting, no promises of a future built on sport alone. Still, he continued. Because discipline, once internalized, does not ask whether it will be rewarded. At some point he understood a quiet truth. Strength without direction remains limited. The world was larger than the platform. Opportunities were elsewhere. And so came the decision to leave home. Not out of escape, but out of necessity. He moved to the Czech Republic carrying little more than experience, patience, and the willingness to start again from zero. Life abroad was not easier. Ordinary jobs filled his days. Physical work returned, familiar, humbling, honest. Training continued in parallel. Early mornings, late nights, no audience, no certainty. Money was tight, but discipline was intact. He lived between effort and exhaustion, trusting that consistency would eventually create momentum. Loneliness became part of the process. A foreign language, a different culture, fewer connections. Progress slowed, but purpose did not fade. In silence, he refined himself further. Not just physically, but mentally. Patience deepened, ego softened. He learned to exist without recognition, a skill that later allowed him to handle fame without being consumed by it. These years looked insignificant from the outside, but internally they were decisive. Because the ability to remain committed without feedback is rare, and those who master it develop something others cannot fake. This phase did not produce success. It produced readiness. Years of discipline had built power, but power alone was not a path. Wolodymyr began to notice something outside the gym. People reacted not to strength itself, but to surprise. Expectations shaped perception. When strength looked obvious, it impressed less. When it appeared where no one expected it, reactions were raw, emotional, unforgettable. He watched videos online, gym pranks, social experiments. Patterns emerged. The algorithm favored moments, not explanations, emotion, not perfection. He realized something simple and dangerous. People don't share strength, they share contrast. The bigger the gap between expectation and reality, the stronger the impact. The idea did not come with excitement, it came quietly. What if strength stayed hidden? What if appearance misled? What if the strongest man in the room looked like the weakest? Not to humiliate, not to deceive, but to reveal how quickly people judge. This was not about ego. It was about human nature. He created a character without creating a lie. Simple clothes, awkward posture, broken accent, minimal words, maximum action. The role was not fiction, it was restraint. Years of real strength were simply placed behind an unassuming mask. The contrast was honest because the foundation was real. The first recordings were modest, no studio, no team, just a camera and reality. Reactions were unscripted. Laughter turned into silence, skepticism into shock. Respect followed naturally. The internet did not need explanation. It understood instinctively. Something authentic was happening. This was the birth of Anatoly, not a character built to impress, but a mirror held up to assumptions. The world began to notice, slowly at first, then suddenly, because when truth meets timing, it moves fast. The internet did not explode all at once. It pulsed. One clip traveled faster than expected, then another. Short videos carried emotion efficiently. TikTok rewarded immediacy. YouTube Shorts multiplied reach. Each platform amplified the same moment, surprise. Millions watched not because of strength, but because reality broke expectation in seconds. Algorithms responded to authenticity. There was no script to optimize, no personality to exaggerate. Reactions were real, faces told the story, laughter, disbelief, respect. The format was simple, but simplicity scales. And the name Anatoly became recognizable without explanation. Attention arrived faster than preparation. Followers multiplied. Comments spread across languages. Memes formed organically. People who had never touched a barbell shared the videos. Because the message was universal, never judge by appearance. The story moved beyond fitness. It became cultural. Growth demanded structure. A team formed. Production improved without losing rawness. Uploads became regular. Collaborations followed, trainers, athletes, creators. Each appearance reinforced the same principle. Real strength does not need to announce itself. Money entered quietly. Monetization followed attention, not the other way around. YouTube revenue, brand partnerships, merchandise. Each stream was built on trust. Nothing felt forced. Every decision protected the image that had formed naturally. Short-term gains were often rejected to preserve long-term credibility. This phase was exhilarating and dangerous. Momentum can carry you forward or off course. Many lose themselves here. But Anatoly remembered the years without witnesses. The silence before fame. That memory kept him grounded while the world moved faster around him. The first million did not arrive as a moment of celebration. There was no shock, no sudden joy. It arrived quietly, almost unnoticed, hidden among numbers and routines. By the time he realized it was real, the work had already changed him. Money became a result, not a reward. A consequence of consistency, not a miracle. What mattered more than the amount was how it was earned. No shortcuts, no fake strength, no humiliation of others. Every dollar was built on something real, skill, discipline, and trust. He understood that money amplifies who you already are, and that made him careful. Wealth without control destroys faster than poverty ever could. Opportunities multiplied, bigger brands, bigger offers, bigger risks. The temptation to accelerate was strong, but he had learned something early. Speed without alignment leads to collapse. He chose growth over expansion, structure over chaos, longevity over noise. The first million changed his position, not his habits. Training remained, simplicity remained, respect remained. He did not need to prove success by showing it, because those who truly earn something rarely feel the need to display it. Confidence replaced hunger. Calm replaced urgency. His philosophy became clear. Real power is quiet. Real confidence does not rush, and real success is sustainable. People followed not just for the content, but for the message beneath it. That discipline compounds, patience scales, and humility protects what effort builds. This was not the end of the story. It was a checkpoint. The moment when struggle transformed into stability. When survival evolved into intention. The first million was never the goal. Becoming someone capable of handling it was. At the peak of recognition, Anatoly did not change direction, he refined it. Fame became a tool, not an identity. The world now saw strength everywhere in his image, but he knew the truth. Strength had never been about lifting more. It had always been about control. Control over ego, over impulse, over the need to impress. His presence carried a message without speeches. Respect others, smile first, let actions speak. In a culture driven by dominance and noise, this calm approach stood out. He did not mock weakness, he exposed assumptions. And in doing so, he reminded millions that potential is often hidden behind the wrong label. People across the world recognized themselves in the story, not in the muscles but in the journey. Years of effort without recognition, being underestimated. Starting again in unfamiliar places. His success validated a quiet truth, that consistency, when protected long enough, becomes unstoppable. Today, Wolodymyr Schmondenko is more than an influencer. He is a symbol of discipline without arrogance, of power without cruelty, of success without noise. His image travels faster than his words, but the philosophy beneath it remains unchanged. The lesson is simple but not easy. Build the foundation first. Accept obscurity, respect time. Do not rush visibility before readiness. Strength that arrives too early collapses. Strength that is earned in silence endures. When people ask how he succeeded, the answer disappoints those seeking tricks. There was no hack, no shortcut. Only years of invisible work, aligned choices, and restraint when temptation was loud. This is not a story about becoming famous. It is a story about becoming capable. And that is why his journey matters. Because it reminds us that the world does not always reward noise, but it never ignores truth forever. Hidden strength, when patient, eventually reveals itself. This is the legacy of Anatoly, proof that real power does not announce its arrival. It waits. It builds. And when it finally appears, it needs no explanation. Anatoly's story is not unique because of fame. It is unique because of patience. For years, effort was given without guarantees, no promises, no timeline. He trained, worked, repeated, not because success was certain, but because stopping felt like a deeper failure. This is the part most people never see, the long stretch where nothing happens, yet everything is being built. There was no moment when he knew it would work, only moments when he chose to continue anyway. This is where most journeys end, not because people lack talent, but because they demand proof too early. Results lag behind effort. Always. Those who endure this delay gain an advantage that cannot be taught. Working without expecting reward changes the nature of effort. It removes desperation, it builds integrity. When action is no longer tied to immediate outcome, it becomes stable. This stability compounds, quietly, invisibly, until one day, progress catches up with persistence. Success, when it finally arrives, feels less like victory and more like alignment, as if life simply caught up with the work already done. That is why those who truly earn it rarely celebrate loudly. They have already paid the price in advance. This is the lesson his path leaves behind. If you move forward long enough, honestly enough, and without demanding instant validation, the result becomes unavoidable. Not always fast, not always obvious, but real. Walk the road even when there is no light. Work when no one is watching. Trust effort more than hope. Because the path does not reveal itself at the beginning, it reveals itself to those who refuse to stop. This story is not about muscles, not about fame, not even about money. It's about the quiet years no one applauds. About effort given without guarantees. About walking forward when the result is still invisible. I share stories like this because many of us are on that same road right now. Working, waiting, doubting, continuing anyway. If this journey resonated with you, you're not alone. This channel is for those who keep going, even when no one is watching. Subscribe to the channel. More real stories are coming. Stories about discipline, patience, and the long road that eventually leads somewhere. Thank you for being here. Until the next story.